Hello, 8th grade, and welcome to your first unit test. So on page 75 is where the actual review starts. 74 was that reflection. So please make sure that you are doing that reflection to help you understand where you are with the understanding. So first we have this box right here of our math and academic vocabulary. So what I've done is I've gone through and written down all of the definitions, but it said to review the unit vocabulary, putting a check mark by terms you can use in speaking and in writing. Look up the meaning of any terms you do not know. So these are all terms that we have discussed in class. And again, I wrote them down to help make sure that you understood the definition. So that first one there is center of rotation, which is the fixed point around which a figure is turned or rotated. So usually that's the center of origin, or it is a point on the actual figure. Congruent means identical form, coinciding exactly when superimposed. So congruent just basically means the same. We haven't changed anything. Corresponding sides, the sides of two different geometric figures that are in the same relative position to each other. So we've been talking a lot about that, about how they have to match, especially since they're congruent. Image then is the new figure that results from transforming an original figure or a pre-image through operations like translation, rotation, or reflection. So the image is that final shape after you've done any sort of transformation or series of transformations. The line of the reflection, an imaginary line across which a shape is flipped to create a mirror image. So typically that's going to be the x-axis or the y-axis. Your reflection then is a type of geometric transformation that flips a figure over a line called the line of reflection to create a mirror image. Okay, so basically it is just that process of reflecting and getting that mirror image. Rigid transformation is a geometric transformation that preserves the size and shape of the figure. So that is, in essence, your translation, rotation, and reflection. Rotation then is a geometric or rigid transformation that turns a figure around a fixed point known as the center of rotation. So again, that center of rotation is either your origin or it's one of the points on the figure. Next, we have clockwise, a direction of rotation that follows the same direction as the hands on a traditional analog clock, moving from the top to the right, then down, then left, and back up. So basically, you're making this circular motion. Counterclockwise is a rotation direction that is the opposite of the way a clock hands move. So this one, you're going in the opposite direction. Original, the starting figure called a pre-image, and resulting figure after the transformation is the image. So the original is the one you start with. The image is everything you have after that. So if you're doing a series of transformations, it could be that final figure or it could be any of the figures in between. And then perform, to execute a transformation or series of transformations. So that is all of the definitions from the math vocabulary. So if you're confused on anything, that is what each of them means, and hopefully you don't have any further questions. All right, let's get started. So problem 1 says, describe a possible sequence of transformations that maps figure A, B, C, D, E onto figure A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime, E prime. Use at least 2 math or academic vocabulary terms in your answer. Underline each term you use. So we're starting with the blue figure and we're going to the red figure. So some possible ways is a reflection. So across the y-axis, so we would reflect it over here. and then a rotation. Okay, and that's going to be clockwise. So for clockwise, I'm going to do CW, just like I was doing in class, and counterclockwise is CCW. Okay, so we're doing a clockwise rotation of 90 degrees. Okay, so we've flipped it over into the first quadrant, and then we've rotated it down 90 degrees. And our center of rotation with the center of rotation of the origin. Okay. So the terms that I have used from this box, we have a reflection, we have a rotation, clockwise, and rotation, and center of rotation. Okay, so those are the terms that I've used. If you remember, there are sometimes multiple ways to transform a figure. So if you had a different idea of how to get from figure 1 to figure 2, as long as everything works out, that's totally fine. Perhaps you rotated it counterclockwise. Maybe you did a reflection, but this is one example that you could have done. All right, question 2. Describe the relationship between figures A, B, C, D, E, and A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime, E prime, using at least 3 math or academic vocabulary terms from the unit in your answer. Underline each term. So here they wanted at least 2. Here they want at least 3. So let's try to use some other terms that we haven't already used up here, okay? We don't want to rewrite our same answer down here. Okay, so an example would be figure A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime, E prime is the image of figure A, B, C, D, E. And if you're using pentagon, that's fine too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, pentagon. That's fine too. Figure is fine. Shape is fine. Any of those are fine. Okay, figure A, B, C, D, E. Produced by a sequence of transformations the figures are congruent the corresponding sides of the figures, again, or shapes, have equal measures. So basically what I'm doing is I'm explaining again these 2 images, not necessarily explaining what's happening, but explaining that there is some sort of rigid transformation happening, and using the definitions of my terms to help me explain that. So if we go back, image was one of our words. Congruent, corresponding sides. Okay, so those are some, that's an example of something you could have written. All right, so now we are on page 76. So let's look at problem 1. So it says figure F is a rotation of figure C. So it's saying F has been rotated from C. So C is our first image, F is our second image. So we've started here and we're going here. Choose the corresponding line segment of figure C for each line segment. So basically what happened is this got turned this way. So if you can picture it, this kind of went like this. So S and G correspond, Q and J correspond. So you're kind of crisscrossing them. So it says choose the corresponding line segment of figure C for each given line segment of figure F. So here I have line segment GH, line segment IH, line segment JI, and line segment GK. So I need to either fill in these bubbles, give them an X, a check mark, whatever works for you, based on what these are. Okay, so first I have GH. GH is down here. It's this longer one. That matches to this right here, this line right here. So I'm going to fill in that bubble. Okay, then I'm looking at HI. That one's going to be right here. So look for TP, PT. That one is there. JI is here. So again, that one's going to be this one right here. So QP. And GK is down here. And so that one's going to be right here. Okay, so I'm just basically crisscross these images. So that one is SR, and it's our last option as well. So we have ST, TP, QP, and SR. All right, question 2. Which angles have the same measure as angle E? Select all the correct answers. Okay, so we have angle E right here. This is the one that we're looking at. So basically we need to figure out which ones are congruent. So if we look at this triangle right here, I have a size of 2, a size of 3. Here I have a size of 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 4. Here I have 2, 1, 2, 3, that's 3. Here I have 2, 1, 2, 3, that's 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I need to figure out which ones are the same. So this one right here doesn't match. This one right here doesn't match because those are not the same triangles. So we don't need this one right here because this is what we've started with. So what I'm left with is triangle ABC and triangle PQR. So I'm going to look for ABC. Okay, so I have B and C right here, but which one matches? If I slide this up and over, this is going to sit right here, and E is going to be sitting on B. So B matches. Then I'm going to look right here. I have PQR. This one we know is wrong. So I have H, P, and L. P is the only one that matches. Angle P. Plus, if I flipped this, P would be sitting on E. So option A and option E are the only answers. All right. Question 3. Does figure B appear to be a rigid transformation of figure A? Use parallel lines, sides to explain your reasoning. Okay, so by looking at this, you might be able to tell right away that B is larger than A. So, but let's just start. So I have 1, 2, 3 units here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, well that's the same. Nothing's changed there. I have 1, 2, 3 here, 1, 2, 3 here. Those are the same. Nothing's changed. So far we're the same. Now if I count my height, 1, 2, there's 2 units there. 1, 2, 3, there's 3 units there. So I can already tell that B is larger than A, and in order for it to be a rigid transformation, they need to be the exact same size and shape. since these are not the same size and shape, these are not, they are not a rigid transformation. So you would say no, they are not the same size and a rigid transformation requires the shapes or figures to be congruent. All right, number 4, figure R is congruent to figure R triple prime. So we've got 1, 2, 3 of those little apostrophes, those little tick marks. So that's triple prime. Describe a sequence of 3. Okay, so we have 3 tick marks. So we're gonna have 3 transformations. Transformations that can be performed on figure R to show this, show your work. So right here, this is my original figure. This is my final figure. So I need 3 different transformations between a translation, a rotation, a reflection, a combination of those that goes from the red figure to the blue figure. So again, depending on how you do this, you might get different answers. As long as your work matches and it ends up in the same place, you're fine. So we have to figure out how to get from the red to the blue. So first I might reflect it across the x-axis. Okay, so I need to figure out 3 transformations. Okay, so my first one is going to be a reflection on the x-axis. Okay, 2, all right, so when I move this, this is gonna end up here. Let's see. I'm gonna be there, and there, there. Okay, so this would be that first rotation. Sorry, reflection. Okay, so now again, I need to get this image. So this is going to be R prime. I need to get this image down here, and I only have 2 more turns. So let's do a clockwise rotation of 90 degrees. So that's going to put that over here. So that becomes, hold on. This was, okay, and then here I have all right, so I'm now moving from this quadrant to this quadrant. And with that 90-degree rotation, I'm switching okay. So now I'm going to have a 6-3. 7. Okay, so that's R double prime. Oops, sorry, my bad. Okay, and then now I have to move it from this R double prime down to R triple prime. And that is going to be a translation down of, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I went down 5 units. So I went from here, my original, to my first rotation, my first transformation, my second transformation, and my third transformation. So I did a reflection across the x-axis. I did a 90-degree clockwise rotation, and then a translation down. Okay, so that is how you fill those in. All right. Question 5. Triangle DEF is congruent to triangle LMN. Which sequence of transformations can be performed on triangle DEF to show this? So basically this one, and I know a lot of people got confused on this one, basically this one is a multiple choice question. So we're trying to figure out which one of these options is correct. So the first one, I'm going to reflect DEF across the y-axis. So that's going to come up here. And then I'm going to translate it up 6 units. Well, if I reflect it, the long side's going to be right here. And if I shifted it up, the long side should be right here. So that one's not possible. All right. Option B, translate triangle DEF 6 units up and then rotate it clockwise. Okay, so I can move this up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if I rotate it counterclockwise, the point would be on top and then the long side would be here. Okay, so that one doesn't work either. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise around the origin and then rotate it another 90 degrees clockwise. So again, if I rotated this, that point would be up here, kind of like that. And then if I rotate it again, that point's going to fall down. Okay, so that's a possibility. Let's check the last one. So this says translate 6 units to the left. So I'm going to move it over here. And then I'm going to rotate the image 90 degrees clockwise. So if I moved it across here, that flat side is going to be here. And then it's going to move and the point's going to be down. So that one again does not work. C is my only option. All right, question 6. Sarah draws figure EFGH in the coordinate plane. She rotates the figure EFGH 90 degrees clockwise. Okay, so it's going to move this way around the vertex to form image E, F prime, G prime, H prime. Draw the image E, F prime, G prime, H prime on the coordinate plane. So if you notice, this E does not have a prime. So these actually share a point. So instead of rotating it about the origin, I'm rotating it about this point right here. So that's not going to move. So basically this is going to come down. So this is on an angle for 2 units. So this is going to come down here. Right here. F prime. And then I'm going to come across, so this is 2 units. So I'm going to come across 2 units. So this is G prime. And then here I have 2 units. So I'm going to come across here. This is H prime. And then I'm going to come back across to E. So this just basically turned on that point. Last question. All right, triangle PQR has vertices of P, -4, 4. Q, -2, 3, and R, -5, 2. Triangle PQR is rotated 90 degrees clockwise around the origin, so it's going this way. Then the image is translated 5 units down and reflected across the y-axis. Okay, and then it's going to go that way. What are the coordinates of the vertices P triple prime, Q triple prime, R triple prime? So here's our original image. When I rotate it 90 degrees clockwise, it's going to come over here and turn. So this flat part is going to be against my axis. So then R is going to be here. So R prime. P is going to be shifted over here. To here, P prime. And then Q is going to be down here. Okay, so that's our first image. So we have taken care of the 90-degree rotation. All right, so now it's telling me that I'm shifting 5 units down. So basically all you have to do is count from each point and count down 5. So if I start here, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is R double prime. I'm going to do the same thing with P. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. P double prime. And then Q. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's Q double prime. So that is my second rotation basically. So we've translated it down and now we're going to reflect it across the y-axis. So we're going to come on over here. So here we're at 2, 0. So now we're going to be at a -2, 0. So here's our triple prime. Here we are at 4, -1. So we're going to be at -4, -1. So that's P triple prime. And then Q here is at sorry, I have this one on the wrong spot. This one is at 3, -3. So we're going to be at -3, -3. And that's Q triple prime. So P triple prime, Q triple prime, and R triple prime are as follows. So P is a -4, -1. Okay. Q triple prime is at -3, -3. And R triple prime is -2, 0. So that is where those points are. And again, if you were paying attention, I said not to worry about page 78, so you don't have to do that. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you understood it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out before the test tomorrow, and good luck.